You know, they say politicians like to hear themselves speak. It's true. I can't hear myself speak if everyone's speaking, so do me a favor for a few minutes and let me hear myself speak. Thank you, ladies. Now I'm in trouble. I want to recognize Councilman Brad Lander, Councilman Dominic Breccia, and of course, the Speaker of the New York City Council, Christine Quinn, who genuinely listened to our concerns and agreed to act on her behalf. I also want to recognize the Speaker's Chief of Staff, who's with us here tonight, Chuck Mira. So folks, if I'm not here tonight to accept an award, why am I here tonight? And the answer is, I have... Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very unusual request to ask of you. I want a favor. I would like for every person in this room not to vote in the upcoming November elections. And if that seems like a strange request, it is. After all, every single one of the 59 city offices, including 51 council seats, 5 borough presidents, 1 public advocate, 1 controller, and yes, the mayor of the city of New York are up for grabs. Even I am running for re-election this November. Despite that, I'm still asking you not to vote in November. So why am I here? I want to speak to you briefly about what's at stake in the upcoming elections. First things first, funding for our yeshivas and Beis Yaakovs. While we've made great strides in funding, we have a long way to go in getting our fair share. Who will be elected will determine whether our yeshivas and yeshiva parents get their fair share or not. Second, taxes, fines, and fees. It's the most unfortunate part of living in New York, the greatest city in the world. You can follow the letter of the law, but somehow you will still get a parking ticket if you drive a car. You'll still get a sanitation ticket if you own a home. And chas v'sholom, you should actually own a business like a restaurant. The city will find a way, even if you're doing everything right, to give you thousands of dollars in fines. And what's more, Rabbi Isai? Some candidates running for office have already promised to raise your taxes next year. It's a new pledge. I never heard of this one before. Vote for me, I'm going to raise your taxes. And that's what's happening. Third issue, public safety. Since 9/11, there have been 14 full-blown terror attacks on this city, but not a single one has been successful. New York has the lowest rate of murders since the history of New York City, a city that was founded in 1625. This is really one of the hottest topics in this race. Should we stay the course, or should we change policing in New York? Number 4, special ed. Anybody who has a child who gets any sort of special ed services, even related services, knows how difficult. You know how difficult it is to get these services for your children. And if you have a child who has to go to a special ed school, forget about it. The city makes you go to Gehenna and back before they will refund your tuition. Even worse, this year the city stopped paying special ed providers in our community, literally hundreds of them, and we had to fight to get them paid. There's nothing short than a war on special ed in this city. And finally, religious freedom. As Rabbi Chaim David Weibel recounted so eloquently the other night at the Aguda dinner, our community's religious freedom is under attack. In New York City, the finest restaurants don't permit you to sit down without a jacket or a tie. That's fine, but when a business owned by Hasidim asks for customers to dress modestly, they get sued by the city of New York. And if that's not bad enough, this mayor refused to negotiate with the community in good faith over Matzitza B'Pev, and in New York City, a city with more Jews than any other city in the world, New York has now become the first city to regulate bris milah. So folks, now you know what's at stake. Funding for our yeshivas, taxes, fees, and fines, public safety, special ed, and religious freedom. So let me say this again. Despite all this, I still don't want you to vote November. Do you know why? Because your vote in November doesn't really count. That's right. The only vote that matters is in September. You see, in September we have primaries. And in this city, 99% of those who win, especially the Democratic primaries, go on to win the election. And here's the secret. Most people don't know this. So the turnout during primaries is between 5 and 10%. That means that 90% of the city doesn't vote because they don't realize how important the primaries are. Your vote in September literally counts 10 times more in a primary than in a general election. So I'm appealing to you, Rabbi Isai, please skip the November election and vote in September. By voting in September, our community will have a real voice on the critical issues that matter to us, and we can send a clear message that we're here